You're now watching two old farts making noises.
Hey, good afternoon and good morning and good evening, depending on where you're watching the show from.
Yeah,
So I
well,
like
I'm watching from the next fortnight,
I was gonna say, well, we do it weekly now, so it's not a fortnight
Yeah,
show anymore.
yeah, I
So,
know.
but I like the panda with the bear. I like that. That's a really cool football bear.
Yeah, yeah, it's a new. Let me move myself. It's a new work I've done. I've done it today, really,
Oh wow.
because I was thinking maybe David was coming, and he's a panda fan, So I was thinking maybe a panda and a football keeper, or a
I like that.
goalkeeper.
That should be the new logo for No Snobs or Knobs. That's actually pretty cool. That should be the logo that we just go boom. There's the No Snobs or Knobs logo. So, and
Yeah, yeah,
I hear that they ordered merchandise for you, so you have a shirt and stuff coming. So hopefully by the end of
yeah,
October,
yeah.
so you'll have some
Lovely,
cool
lovely.
merch. Yeah.
Life
So
is wonderful.
I know, right? So there's a lot of cool stuff going on. So let's start. I read an article the other day about ESG, right? It's everybody's going ESG, and it was basically saying who does it really benefit, and really are people adhering to it? And it was in the Financial Times, and the conclusion was no. It's like all these people are talking about ESG, and we're going to do good, and we're going to do this, but no, it's not really helping or doing or like there's only a handful of companies that really adhere to it, but the rest of them say they do it and they don't do it. So is that big in Norway, or is that just sort of smoke?
Uh, you have to enlighten me. The three letters. What are they?
All right, I have to give you what the meaning is here. ESG is environmental, social, and governance. Investors are increasingly implying
Ah,
these non-financial factors as part of their analytical process to identify
yeah,
material
yeah,
risk
yeah.
and growth
Sorry.
opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. Well, today we have. Are we talking about the environment? Up there.
I think it's everything. I think that the environmental
Okay.
is like, are we not polluting an ocean or we're not pumping smoke in the air? The social,
Okay.
um, I think, is more, do we have inclusion? Do we have this? Do we have that? And then
Yeah.
the governance is just the governance. But it's according to the article, a lot of people say they have ESG, and there's a company, and I forget the name, that's actually checking out ESG, but
Yeah.
it's
No.
sort of
No.
like
No. I said. Yeah.
nobody's like, yeah, everyone's like, yeah, we're an ESG company and we abide by it, and but nobody really
Yeah.
is. So they're saying it's
Yeah.
kind of like, and who does it really benefit? And I was like, that's an interesting question because I don't really look at a company if I'm going to invest or even buy one. I don't
Yeah.
look at if they're ESG. I'm like, are you profitable? Do you have smart people? Do you have technology that's going to go another 10 or 20 years? I mean, like, that's this is my opinion. It's more of the woke society.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we need to. And if we're so worried about the environment all of a sudden, which is nice, don't get me wrong, we should have
Yeah.
been. When I was a kid, I was worried about the environment growing up, and nobody cared. So it's sort of like now, 5,000 years later, I'm like, I don't care. It's like
It.
I'm done with caring. We talked about this on the show, another show the other day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not my job to babysit 8 billion people anymore.
But it's again and again. I'm just saying, follow the money.
Right.
It's a money machine.
Yes.
I now completely understand. We call it otherwise in Norway with not those letters, but now I'm totally with you. And it's a thing, and it creates a lot of new companies,
Right.
a lot of big companies going in to have a nice stamp on this one that you can
Yep.
have beside your logo and so on, and you will have enormous. It will have an enormous effect for you, even if you're a carpenter or if you are manufacturing
Right.
cars or whatever. I don't think so,
Right.
because everybody got it, but they're just buying the stamp.
Right. Yeah, that's my point. That was kind of what the article was saying. It's like everyone talks about how they're doing this and they're doing that, and then when you really look at it, it's like, oh, but they're not. And
Yeah.
it's like we're just saying it so people, activist investors are like, oh, so and so's we'll invest in them and this and that. And I'm sort of like, but yeah, no, you're not really doing anything. Why can't you just be good citizens? Crazy thought, and just do the
Yeah.
right thing. But no, we have to have ESGs and we have to have this and we have to have that. I'm just like, this is crazy. Like it's to a point where it's like ludicrous, So my mindset's I think a little different than most because of it.
You remember when we began with HME,
Yep.
and still there are companies who has this logo as well, or the stamp,
Right.
and we know for sure that they are not following
And for
the
the people
things
outside of
they.
Europe, let's
Yeah.
tell them what HME is, because most people in the States aren't going to know what HME is.
Okay. It's health, environment, and emotional.
Right. So it's basically ESG, but the European version, if you will.
Yeah, and
Okay.
yeah. So it's the same. Yeah,
Right.
it's in Norway. My last company, I bought this from a company. There's only one company in Norway who is selling this kind of stamp
Right.
or the logo, and they're earning a lot of money.
Oh, I'm sure. So
And
it's a
and
great scam.
yeah, it's a great scam. You have to answer some questions on a paper or online, and you have to assign one of the employees to be responsible in, not really
Right.
responsible, but the name, and there you are. Then you can, the largest company in Norway, like Equinor and others, then you're able to deliver, for example, things to the North Sea, to the oil business, and so on.
Right.
And that's where the money is, at least in Norway.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So now the globe has got ESG, Norway has got HME, and from what it sounds like, both don't seem to be working. And see, we always say this on the show. I'd love for somebody who really knows and is really an ESG expert to come on our show and say, no, here's how it works. Here's how it's helping all these companies. Here's how it helps the environment. Because every time someone comes on and we ask them questions, it's like, oh. And the article in the FT yesterday just basically squashed it. It was really like, who's it benefit? It benefits, like, to your point, these companies that sell you. I don't think we sell a stamp. I guess Norway they do. It's the
Yeah.
companies that they benefit. The company that's actually doing, if you will, the consulting to make sure you're ESG compliant. It's the
Yeah.
benefits the company that sells you this or the company that trains you to do this. But really, on the larger scale, I don't think it benefits the investor, the environment, anything. I think if you're a good corporate citizen and you're going to try to clean up the environment or clean up the ocean or do whatever your thing is, then you just do that. And you can put it
Yeah.
in your annual report. You can
Yeah.
put it in if you're a public company, in your Qs or your Ks. I think that you do. But I don't.
Yeah.
I saying I'm an ESG company and then not really do it. Like some hedge funds are going, we're ESG, big deal. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
job is,
Yeah.
if I give you money, is to make me money. I could care
Yeah.
less how you treat your employees. You can beat them until their attitude changes. Don't care. Your job is to make me $1 billion.
A matter of fact, I reckon this is 8 or 10 years ago, because we had this in Norway for at least 10 years now.
Right.
And this also includes what we call social dumping. I believe it's the same in your country. Yeah.
Okay. I think I haven't heard of social dumping, but tell me about it.
Okay. Social dumping is when, for example, Norway, we import a lot of workers from other places in Europe, like in Eastern Europe,
Right.
Romania, Poland, whatever. And then we have to, because of the union in Norway and everything, they have to have the right payment. And I was a part owner of a mining company, and well, I've been in Romania 25 times. I've been all over Eastern Europe, but we were the only one who got the certificate to um, actually prove what we did.
Right.
So we followed up, but no one else did. Well, someone maybe, but I was in the opera in Oslo, where it was held a conference about this, and
Okay.
I was one of the key speakers there, and I have to say that enormous with people. Everybody wants this, and but the big companies like the international, I'm just saying it, Adecco and so on.
Right.
I don't know if you have Adecco in UK.
I don't think we have that in the States.
No, no, okay. But the big companies, they
Right.
very often, I'm not saying especially Adecco, but very often a lot of foreign workers working in Norway have two paychecks.
Okay.
One that is real,
Right.
that they get each hour, and one that is fake, that goes with the government and also go into the company
Okay.
if somebody checked them, you know. So
Right.
that's what we call social dumping, and also if they are living under very poor conditions, you know, they have
Right.
accommodation from the company, and if you see all the places people are living and how many people in one room and with no privacy, nothing, they are treated often like well, modern slaves.
Wow. That's what we should. So it's modern. So basically, your social dumping in Norway, if you will, is almost like slavery, modern slavery.
Yeah, well, they got money, they got food, but I would call it a modern slavery, because
Okay.
there is some money to them. But we, I personally, I got in trouble in Romania. I had to call the Norwegian embassy,
Oh wow.
yeah, because I saw this you know, we had a company down there who helped us to recruit, and I saw that they had, you know, the visa cards
Right.
uh, the workers in Norway had. They were registered in the company in Romania, so the Romanian company could use the money of the workers in Norway whatever they wanted.
Oh
You
wow.
understand?
Yeah.
So not too fair, and I know this is going on even
Every
now,
day.
but
Yeah.
yeah. So it's a scam, and it's so pathetic, and that is one of the reason I or we sold our company, because the branch is destroyed.
Right. That's sad. But see, that's everybody always trying to get around the system, and I'm assuming it's done everywhere, right? But if you get caught, then it makes the news. If you don't get caught, it doesn't make the news. So I'm always fascinated by that. That companies are always still to this day with all the scrutiny, and especially with all the social media and with everybody
Yeah.
trying to be a whistleblower, that they still try to skirt the laws.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me.
But it's not easy to be a whistleblower. You came with another thing now. Um, how are whistleblowers doing in America? Because in Norway, it's not easy to be a whistleblower because you kind of ruin your life if you're a young man or a woman and you really do use the whistle.
Right. Well, in America, the way it seems to work so far is if you blow the whistle and they get sued by the government, so to speak, and the government gives you 10% of what if there's a fine. So if the government says XYZ company did this and we're going to sue them for say $500 million, the way that the articles that I've read and what I've seen so far is that the person doing the blowing, sounds terrible,
Yeah, yeah,
gets 50. Now all the girls are like, what? I blow and I get $50 million? What?
yeah.
So, but they get 50, they would get 10% of whatever the fine is or however it would work. So we
Ah,
do have whistleblowers to an extent. Like, when we had
yeah,
when the Me Too movement was here, girls were calling out Harvey Weinstein and all these other people. And so and I don't think they sued him and they got monetary value that way. I don't think they got anything from like the government. Um, and I think things like that are good. I know when companies are polluting, people will go and then they'll end up on 60 Minutes, which I think now is everywhere on the planet. And they'll
mm,
say, I went to the EPA and they didn't care. And I went to this agency and they didn't care. And I went to that. They go, and the story is like horrific that it took them like 5 years to, like the guy who figured out Bernie Madoff was a
mm,
scam artist. Like it's a Ponzi scheme. Like 5 years before he imploded, I think he was on 60 Minutes, and then I read the article. It was like he went to the SEC, the FBI, he went to everybody, and they're like, yeah, we don't do it. Like, don't worry about it. And then when he
yeah,
imploded, he was on 60 Minutes, and he said, I went to everybody, and nobody wanted to hear it. So
yeah,
it's very interesting. We pick and choose as a society, I think, on what
yeah,
we want to get behind, what we want to, we're like, we're going
yeah,
to get on our horse and we're going to go fight the battle, but not every battle. We only want to fight
yeah,
the
yeah,
battle
yeah,
that and it's terrible to say, that I think makes us famous or gives us publicity.
yeah,
Nobody wants to
yeah,
go into the trenches and say, listen, no one's ever going to care about this case. No, but it's going to help people.
yeah,
Let's go do this case. And I
yeah,
find that we don't do that. Um, so I think that's kind of sad that we don't
yeah.
have the wherewithal sometimes to just say, let's go do this.
But the term whistleblower is,
Yeah.
the whistleblowers should have it much more easy. At least what I'm reading about in Europe, and I know that the European Commission is working on
Mhm.
the whistleblower system in Europe
Well, in
right now.
19, in 1989, we did the Whistleblower Protection Act. So
Hey,
it's a part of the United States federal law that protects federal whistleblowers who work for the government, but it doesn't protect, like if that's for the government, that's great, but it doesn't protect anybody else. And
no.
then in 2023, they amended it, but that doesn't really do anybody good because, still only for the government. So if I whistleblow against Goldman
Ah,
Sachs, let's say, and I'm not saying
yeah,
Goldman's doing
yeah,
anything wrong, using them as
yeah,
an
yeah,
example,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I would, if I go to just one of the federal agencies, I would get um, money for that turn in if the federal government would act on it.
yeah,
So, and it says your protection related from reporting safety related issue, consumer product, food safety, environmental, fraud, and financial issues, health insurance, and transparent services.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so it protects you to an extent. But if I work
yeah,
on, and I'm not picking on Goldman, I'm just using them. If
yeah,
I worked
yeah,
at
yeah,
Goldman
yeah.
and I'm saying they did a no, and I go
No.
do my whistleblowing, well, number one, they're going to make it impossible for me to want to stay there. So let's just be frank, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you're not going to
yeah,
end up
yeah.
staying at Goldman
Yeah,
Sachs if that happens.
No,
Number one.
no.
Number two, and it just takes the government, whether it's 1 year or 10 years, to work out the fine and whatever, and you get 10%. You're still going to be unemployed, let's say, for that amount of time. Because if you go to another investment bank, or it could be a credit card company, car, whatever, and they know you're a whistleblower, the chances of you getting hired are going to be like 1,000,000 to 1, unless they're really an ESG company, which is bullshit. And they're going, oh, you're wonderful. We want you over here because you're going to be our poster child. And so far I have not seen that. I've not seen somebody with an ESG company say, "Ooh, you're the poster child. We want you to come work for us." So I think and I like the concept, but I don't think it's not Singapore. Where Singapore, everybody spies on everybody, which is well known. Like you spy on your neighbor, you spy if someone does something wrong, but you get rewarded quietly. They have cameras all over the place. And when they say ESG or HME, they actually mean it, right? Because they take care of their people, because that's the way when they started back in the 50s that I don't want to say dictator, but the president was like, this is how we're going to do it. Yeah. And boom. It's truly an Orwellian state. And I'm okay with that because you know what you're dealing with. Every place else talks about it, but it's sort of like mental masturbation. They don't really do anything with it.
Okay. I find this theme very interesting because we are saying one thing but doing another thing.
Right. Welcome to America.
Yeah, but it is the same all over the world. I think. Yeah. So and I just hate that because the old thinkers, and I don't believe I'm a guardian of ethics and moral. I have my mistakes. Has one of them.
I got mine. Mine are all behind me. My scotch, my cigar, they're all here. So we're good.
Yeah. So we're only people. But when there's a system from governments, from when the system that is made with so many holes that it has no points, then it's how do you say, how do you tell it, it's a fraud, really.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is that we have to go back to the good old thinkers from Greece and Rome, and think about, or even just 100 years back, then when a handshake was a handshake.
Yes.
And you don't
even have to go 100 years back. We used to do deals in the 80s, and I'm talking the 1980s, not the 1880s or the 80s, right?
You're right.
We used to do real deals on a handshake in the 80s, and then all of a sudden, in the late 80s, early 90s, we would say, okay, now we got to get lawyered up. Like I remember we'd be at dinner with somebody, or we'd be out, we could actually have cigars and scotch and be like gentlemen and sit and talk at a restaurant and enjoy without everybody going, oh my God. But anyway, we'd be at a restaurant and someone say that's the deal. And they'd put their hand across the table and you'd shake, or they'd write something on a napkin, and that was the deal. You were done.
Yeah.
And then, then everybody would, get it all tightened up and go, and you still have lawyers involved. But now it's, if you even just say hello to somebody, it's like you got to sign an NDA. And then I have to get an LOI. And then I have to do that. I'm like, all I want to know is all I want to do is know what you're doing to see if I have an interest to do all that. And then they're like, well, you can't do any. I'm like, I can do whatever I want in this space just because you tell me that you invented a pen, right? There's 8,000 other guys who invented a pen or whatever your widget is. I can't sign that. I can't compete because I talk about pens, if you will, all day. So it's like we've gotten to a point where we lawyer up, and most of the NDAs mean nothing. The non-competes mean nothing. Like no one enforces them because they realize how ludicrous they are. So it really has, it's great for the lawyers, but
Yeah.
for guys who want to do deals, like I said, up until like I would say 1992, 93, we didn't lawyer up for everything. If you went to dinner with someone and discussed it, no one was like, no, you can't tell anybody. It was just a given that, you were gentlemen. You shook
Yeah.
hands. That was it. If nothing came of it, nothing came of it. And if something came of it, then, you went to work. And I'm so dumbfounded today with our woke society and all the little gens, whatever, running around, that it's gotten to that point. So are we better off? My opinion, no. When
No.
back in the day, much better, because men and women were people of their word. Today, it's like, oh, you told me it's blue? Great. Can you sign this piece of paper that says it's blue? I'm like,
Yeah.
seriously? I mean, so
Yeah.
it's a very different mentality. So
You see behind me, when I do these
there you go.
artworks,
Yep.
and yeah. Hello, Mister. And I'm trying to sell these on NFT market,
Right.
and I bet maybe I've been unlucky or is something wrong with me. Could gladly happen, but at least 80% of the people who's trying to buy are doing it frauded. They're frauding,
They're
like,
frauds. Right.
yeah, frauds, and they are doing it so professional that they are copying the website for the companies who are doing this correctly,
Gotcha.
and you think you're dealing with the right company and everything, and it turns out that it's only a skin
Right.
on the computer, and with bitcoins, bling bling bling, at
Right.
the same seconds that you're sending the money, you will never see it again, so
Right.
it's, but how can people, I've asked many of the scammers, or the scammers, who the people who try to fraud me.
Right.
Why do you do this? How can you sleep at night
Well,
if you
two.
if
Good.
it's incredible. I can't believe that that people can walk in the park, take the kids on a football game, whatever, when they know that the money is purely stolen.
Right. Well, what I was going to say is next time someone tries to do that, keep a list, and we'll do a whole show on people frauding the NFT market. We'll put up the
Wow.
fake websites. We'll do all the stuff, and David and you and I, and we'll get a couple people on. We'll do a whole show on NFT fraud. But the problem with NFTs, just in general, because what it is no different in the art, the real art, right? Physical art, there's
No.
still fraud there. You have people that they
Yeah.
do fraud painting. So the difference with the NFT market is because it's all electronic. The provenance is supposed to be on your blockchain. You're supposed to have this and you're supposed to have that. So if you do get with somebody who's not reputable, then all of a sudden you're screwed, because once you give up your digital asset, you're done.
Yeah,
So
you're
when
done.
we were doing digital assets, we always said to the artist, listen, you can't just have an NFT. You have to have a physical painting or a physical something that goes with it, for two reasons. One, when the NFT market tanks, which it did, so we were smart enough to know that, at least the person has a physical painting from you. So if they
Yeah.
want to sell the painting or the digital, they can keep one or the other, or they can sell them both as a pair.
Yeah.
So we were very strict on how, when we did NFTs, how we sold them and how we did it. And we were very like, you've got to do poly digital. Like, you've got to give an NFT and you
Yeah.
got to give
Yeah.
a
Definitely.
hard copy of something. So whether you make that in, like that bear, like I love that bear. So if I was like, oh, I want to buy that bear, I want to buy the bear in its physical form. So
Yeah.
to me, I like the physical aspects of things, because I'm not into this digital look at my phone and see all the pretty pictures. I like
Yeah.
to come
Yeah.
into my office like I do now. I've got the creation of David over there that was by Rusty that he did for us,
Yeah.
which is very nice. We have all, and I come in
Yeah.
and I look, and then all the other art we have is wherever it is, and I can go look at it. And I'm like, nice. And
Okay.
I like that. So the NFT market, and we were in New York, which we're there a lot. There's a store that has an NFT digital frame, so you can put all your digital art in this frame, and it shows it. But I'm like, okay, but if I have 25 pieces, I have to sit there, and it has to go. I want to go into where I keep my art, and I want to sit down, and I want to enjoy it. If I turn my chair, I want to see this painting, and if I turn it this way, I want to see that painting, and if I look down, I want to see it. I don't want to go scroll, scroll. I scroll enough all day with work, right? So it's very much, I want the tangible, touchy. But yeah, I think the NFT market, and we won't get into crypto algorithms slash currency, because it's not a currency, it's an algorithm. But anyway, the NFT market, I think, is still at an infancy. And I will bet, unfortunately, if it's 10 or 50 years, I think it then at some point will explode, because people will figure out how you can do more with it. And also technology will be further along. So I'll be able to be like, oh, I bought this digital, but I can do this with it. You know what I mean? And right now, also, when you buy a digital asset, you don't own it. Everyone thinks, oh, I can own it. I can put it on t-shirts. I can do. You can't. All you own is that asset. So you only own to show it on your phone. I think you're allowed to print it and make a poster. But that's why I'm like, I'd rather have the artist just give me the physical, and I'd be like, cool, I've got the physical. So, but I think the cord is still out on where NFTs are going to go. I think there's a lot of people that think, oh my God, but I think it's still one of those, we're still at its infancy. I think it's going to go somewhere. I think it just needs not so much more regulation, because the blockchain does that, but I think it just needs technology to catch up to where it could be, say, in 5 or 10 or 20 years.
And I have to say I agree so much with you, because I've seen some of my paintings that I sold, NFT or not. I'm delivering also a large file so they can print it by the local art printer, on a canvas.
Yep.
Because I don't want. They want it as well.
Yes.
People want something on the wall, and it makes much better impact on the wall. You can smell it, you can feel it, you can, as you say, it's much more real. The reality form in an NFT is not that good. But then again, if I'm trying to sell my work and send it to America, 3 and 3 meters, for example, then it's hopeless. It would cost so much.
But that's true to one point. We have an artist that we bought something for. I think he was in Amsterdam, and what he did is he unframed it, tubed it, and he said, "Tell me who your framer is in America." And he called the framer and said, and we told the framer what was going on. He sent an email and said, this is how it has to be framed. He gave him detailed instructions. So the tube with the art cost me nothing. I mean, it cost, but not, it cost we'll say 50 US. Then when he got here and they framed it, so I paid for the art, which was fine, paid for the shipping, which was no big deal. And then they framed it, and it was cheaper, I think, to ship it. Let's just vague numbers. I think the artwork itself was 15 or 2,000 euro, and to ship it, because it was mega, was going to be about 2,000 or 3,000 euro to ship it in one piece. And I said, I'm not buying a car. And then he laughed. He goes, but I have. He says, wait, I know what to do. And he said, and he talked to the framer. So it was like, the artwork was the artwork. It was $50 to get it here insured. And then the framer got it. And a month later, we had the piece, and it cost like nothing. And I was like, okay. So when you have to ship a large item, and a real painting, if you will, not a digital asset, then that's the easiest way to do it. You just roll it and just ship it to the local framer.
Yeah. And also a lot of people, when we're talking about art again, a lot of people think that like the picture behind me is fake. And it is kind of fake, because I didn't draw it with my hands, but I draw it with my head.
Right.
So
It's still you.
it's still me. It's my ideas. It's
Yep.
my and I used hours by hours again. Coming with the idea, everything you do when you're making an art with your hands and
Right.
or your feet, as people
However
do.
you do it.
So
Right.
yeah. So I think that there will be a renaissance also for the possibilities with artificial intelligence,
Yes.
and but I think it has to be done physically instead of just having a little stamp.
Right.
This is mine, and you can't see anything.
Right. No, I agree. I'm fascinated by, like, we use a lot of AI for what we do, and it can draw things, it can do things, but I think what we do different is that if our artificial intelligence, whether it makes a digital movie for us that we have on Two Old Farts or TOF Entertainment, or whether it draws a painting for us, because we say do this, and we're done. We're not like you. We're not talented. We don't sit there with our digital, right? So we'll say the movie was made by David calls it AI Old Fart, and it's produced, directed, and written by AI Old Fart. That's our movie. If we do a
Yeah,
picture, it was drawn. The artist is AI Old Fart. We literally give the artificial intelligence all the credit
yeah,
because we didn't do anything. But with artists like yourself and even Adam from Adam on the Eve,
yeah,
when he does stuff, he's doing what you like. You literally 90% of it is from up here, and then you
yeah,
transfer it to if you will, to the digital screen, which then
yeah,
transfers it, whether it's to paper or wherever, where
yeah,
someone like myself punches in, panda bear soccer ball. I did what 0.0001% of the
yeah,
work. So the
yeah,
AI
yeah,
gets it all.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's the fact that you guys
yeah.
actually create is much different than these guys that are going, look what I've done. And I'm like, well, what did you do? Well, I used whatever program and it did this. Right. So, but what did you do? Well, I gave it the prompt. Right. But what did
Yeah,
you do? Right. It's
yeah,
like you're missing my point. Like, what did you do to get the art to
yeah,
get there
yeah,
other than
yeah,
you
yeah.
typed in five
I,
words? You're
I,
not an artist. The AI is the
I,
artist.
yeah, I know. I use a lot of software,
Right.
basically Photoshop, of course.
Right.
That is my king, really. But also others to make the small differences because um the AI is still, for example, hands.
Hmm.
It's terrible to make hands.
Right.
They can't, they can't figure out how to make hands. So I
Right.
think in the future they will, but nowadays it's not perfect what intelligence, artificial intelligence does.
What it's doing.
It's yeah.
It's
It's
getting there. It's getting a lot better.
yeah, much better, much better.
But that's what I'm saying.
But
That's why we give credit on our channel
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
we make sure that people know that no, David did not go out and hire actors or actresses or to play these. This is all AI generated. Like, and if David does a painting or a drawing or whatever, and we promote it, we make sure everybody knows it's not us. Like we punch some keys. That's as smart as we are, and we're done. When we
yeah,
write descriptions for all our shows and whatnot,
yeah,
what we do is I write a description, I give it to AI. AI makes it a little better, and we stick it in there. Then when the show airs, and we've said this on a couple of shows, we actually take the video, give it to
yeah.
AI, and say, "Watch
Ah,
the show and tell me what the show's about," and make a description for YouTube. And it makes a paragraph or so description much better than what I wrote in the beginning
of
with
course.
AI because I'm writing like I take notes and I'm like, here, these are my notes. Make it into something so at least we have something up. And then an hour after the show airs, we put it into AI. AI then I don't know if it really listens or watches. It does whatever it does. It
Yeah,
spits me out a 50-page summary, and I go make it to a YouTube description. Gives me a nice paragraph. I stick it in. I re-upload that into the show. So an hour to 2 hours after a show goes live, if anybody ever watches, they'll notice that there's one description, and 2 hours later, the description of what the show is changes because AI now is getting the nuances of the whole show, and making sure we didn't miss anything. And then we ask for timestamps, and then we have it summarized. And then, so 2 hours after one of our shows air, it's perfect. But in the beginning, first hour or so, not so much, because, I'm not sitting here going at 37:20. AI does that. And then I say, summarize it, do this, and just same with it. And the same when we talk about different subject matters, it puts it better than my notes are my notes. And the AI that I give it to can only work off of my notes. So I make the best notes I can. And so we give AI credit for everything, because if it wasn't for AI, I know what we used to write was junk. And with AI, we look like, we're like Shakespearean doctorates, and we look wonderful. And so I'm very happy with what AI does. And I think in art, it'll find a home, as it will in movies and, and writings and whatnot. I think over the next, say, 5, 10, 15 years, it will find a place where people are like, ooh, I don't think people are going to lose jobs. What I've learned with AI is you have to learn how to speak to it. Like if I ask it the right question or prompt it to do the right thing, it does. If I don't, it won't do it. So what I've learned to is when I ask it to do something, I'm like, can you do yada, yada, yada? And it gives it back. Oh, no, tweet. You have to learn how to speak to it. And all these people are like, oh, it's going to take my job. It's not going to take your job now. Maybe in 20 years, because it still has a lot to learn. And it's still not, like, it can't give me thought. I know my wife sent me an AI that's like, if you're having a bad day, you go, I'm having a bad day. And it goes, oh, you're wonderful. You're this, you're great. I'm like, I don't need AI to tell me that. I already know. So, but it's sort of, I thought it was very interesting. But I think as it progresses, once again, it goes to technology. And I think if quantum computing gets itself out of it, if it gets out of its own way, and we can start getting into quantum computing, I think then you see AI for what you do, and AI for what we kind of do, and AI for everything else is going to explode. Then you have, which I'm waiting for, and I'm hoping, HAL 2001, and I think then that's awesome.
But everything I've said and done, even with my hands and everything, I'm reading from a prompt up just here. So I am an IA guy today, so I didn't say anything. He told me everything to
well, at some point,
unfortunately, my prompt is not that good in English, but that will come in a couple of years.
Too. Well, and think about it. At some point, we won't even be doing this. AI will come and look at us and say, okay, I got Morton down, I got Steven down, I got David down, go through all our hosts, and they'll be like, what's the subject today? Cool. And we'll put it up there, and it'll be avatars of us with AI having a dialogue, and no one would know the difference. And so that to me will be really cool, because I want to have, then it would be like, right now it'd be 4 of us. There'll be me, the fake me, you, the fake you. And it'd be interesting to see what our fake selves say to our real selves on these topics. And I think that will be the coolest show ever. So
and we can discuss with the second me,
Right.
I can have a discussion with myself.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I think once it gets that far, that'll be cool, because it'll just be like, that's interesting. And once again, it'll be cool for the first 6 months. And then after that, I don't care. But if somebody couldn't make the show today, like Roll couldn't make the show because he's got some stuff and David's on holiday, we would just punch in their avatars, and their avatars would give us their opinions. And I would be like, I could deal with that. That'd be kind of fun. So, but we'll see. But next week, I will be doing the show with you guys from Los Angeles.
Oh, you're going to travel.
I'm going to be traveling, and the week after I'm in Dubai. So I think that'll be the 17th. I think David and Roll and some other people will be on, because I'm not sure, but I think when you guys will be recording the show, I will be in the air. So
you will be in the air. Okay.
I'll be in the air. So I don't think I can do a broadcast from the air. But next week I'm doing the show with you guys from Los Angeles, because it'll be early in the morning there, like 5 o'clock. So that's good. The following, we record everybody, just so you know, on Tuesday mornings, and then we air these on Saturday.
But what you could do is that you could pre-record yourself. Just say, yes, no, I don't. I don't agree with that.
That's right.
You know, like
Have David just insert it where needed. Just go, no, Steve has a comment, click. Steve has a comment, click.
no,
That's a good idea.
like Tree. You know,
Right.
there's some humor movies about this, but
Right.
it's awesome because if you just talk, and we have to follow you
Oh,
because
that'd be funny.
you will be the headline anyway.
All right. I'll see if David can muster up how to do that, and we'll figure it out. But in the interim, it's always good to see you, my friend. I love the panda. So that
Ah,
absolutely
yeah.
gorgeous, beautiful panda. If anybody wants to buy an NFT of that panda, we're going to make it really simple. Just reach out to us here at the show, and we will put you in touch with Morton, and you guys can exchange that digitally.
Or
So,
if you want to buy it on a canvas or on art on whatever, you know, there's so many ways.
yep, we can figure out how to
Uh,
get you a panda. Not to worry. So there
yeah,
you
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah.
Morton, it's always a
Uh,
pleasure to see you, my friend.
yeah, well, the panda was going to trig
David,
our friend David, yeah, because I saw he had panda cyst the last time. So
next week.
unfortunately, but
No, but
next
next
week.
week you leave it up for next week, and you can see the panda. Yeah, I think that panda should be the logo for no snobs or knobs. Personally, it's just to let you know.
Ah,
I think that would be a cool. I think that would be a cool logo, but that's just me.
but
So
it's playing soccer instead of football, you know.
that's football. That's world. That's real football. We play American
Okay. Yeah,
football. So
yeah.
keep in mind, we've done football deals in the UK before, and we've also
Yeah.
traveled the planet. So I call it football. I don't call it soccer. In America, when I talk to someone, I go American football and the world football, and they look at me like I'm an idiot. I'm like, you call it soccer, and they're like, oh. I'm like, proper is football. Why we call it soccer here, I have no idea. Well, I do, but there
Yeah,
you
you
go.
have soccer moms.
Yes, we have soccer moms, which are technically football moms.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
you go. Too funny. All right, my
It
friend.
doesn't
I will
matter.
see you. We'll see you in a week, everybody.
Okay.
Enjoy the show. Don't forget to subscribe and like. We go live at 9 a.m. every Saturday morning Eastern Standard Time. You guys will have to figure it out where you are on the globe, what time that works for you. You can download us wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and you can also see us here on YouTube. And you can find us on Instagram and TikTok and all the other places. See everybody next week. Cheers.
Bye.